Hi everyone, this is Killshot 99 Gaming. This is The Walking Dead Season 10. Tonight we're going to talk about the potential of a Carol and Negan team. We're also going to go back and talk about some of her hallucinations, some of the dreams, what was real, what was not real. Got some really good thoughts, some really good theories. I want to say thank you to all of you for being here. This is a double shot night, so we're streaming at 7:30, and we will be back again at 9:30 with a brand new topic. I want to give a super special shout out to the Patreon Army. Thank you so much for everything that you guys do. And we got a brand new Patreon supporter that is Catface Killer. You guys have seen Catface in the stream. So thank you so much. You guys are interested in becoming a Patreon supporting the channel. There is a link down below, and also a special shout out to our PDL sponsors as well. So I'm going to put this scene up on the board because this is something actually I had to go back and watch a couple times to see how this situation plays out. Because one of the things was how many bullets Carol had in the gun. And we saw this gym scene, and you got to piece a couple things together. So Carol's hanging here. This whispers kind of antagonize her a little bit. So I looked at the end of the scene, the very final scene, where Michonne doesn't believe Carol. Carol walks out to Daryl and says, "She doesn't believe me. Do you?" And Daryl looks pretty convincing, shakes his head, yes. And then we see this whisper, but the whisper is not laying inside the gym. The whisper is laying on dirt. But the scene pans. So it starts out with where Carol was hanging, and then it goes past the little ball on the left, and then you see the two rugs, and it appears to go where that pole is in the back and the door jamb outside the door. So if you go outside the door, there's a whisper laying on the ground. It is the same whisper as this one. Same hair, same shirt as it scrolls up. So when Carol did the shot, she was upside down. She did take one shot when the whisper turned its back. Or apparently turned its back. So it's real, but I just wanted to make sure that it was this one and it wasn't one of the ones that was going through the woods. That had me a little bit curious because when Michonne came back, Michonne said we didn't see anything, any of the above. So, yeah. So it was this whisper. I know, Carol's taking pills. She's doing a lot of different things, like phasing in and out is what I would call it. But it's a little bit hard to keep up with because there's very little that, I got to think, how many people think that Angela Kang got a whole group of people and said, you know what, there's some people over at the 99 Army that figure all of our stuff out. Let's throw them a curveball this season. Let's get them in a dream state and not tell them what's real and what's not real. I think they're on to us a little bit, but you know what? We're going to be on to them because we're going to figure it out. We're still going to drill down. We're going to funnel it. What does it mean? The hands on the clock. There's two clocks that are both missing hands. And I really, it's certainly a metaphor. And I want to see what you guys think. What does it mean to you that Carol looks down at the clock and just does not have a clue what time it is? No hands. No time. Purgatory. We saw something similar. Lost in time. I love all this. Doing time. Time means nothing. It is. I mean, that certainly is a dream. But what does it mean inside the dream? What is the meaning to her? I like that. Out of time. You could go Daryl Hall and John Oates, right? You're out of touch. I'm out of time. All right. I could sing that in a Alpha's voice you guys would like. Time doesn't matter. Great stuff here. Timing is everything. Good. Take your time. What about, let's make it not about time. Let's make it about the hands of the clock. How about Carol has no ability, no hands, no ability to fight back, no hands to save Henry, no hands to hug Henry, nothing, no hands, no arms, just completely helpless, suspended in time and also helpless. I mean, you could dig down to, and I recommend, look up dreams and what does it mean for you to dream that a clock has no hands? And you'll find multiple different scenarios and thoughts of from a dream state. What's the relevance of that? Coco says everything in Carol's world stops until she gets revenge. I think it means orange. You've been hanging out with Will the Bill quite too often there, Rolex. So what's interesting about that is, pun intended, the time at which she sees the clock with no hands. We might go full Vanilla Sky on you guys tonight. And really, really dig down into this. So, Daryl's cooking breakfast. Seems to be a perfect situation. And then, she gets $20, gets to go out and buy some jam. Henry's there. She looks at her watch. There's no hands. She also has the timer, the little alarm clock she carries around as well. It also goes to show she appears to be having a good breakfast with Daryl, right? It's a good situation. It's an alternate reality. Ready to spend some time and enjoy a breakfast. However, there's something missing. There's no jam. So, no matter how close she gets to enjoying something, it's taken away from her. And this is why I think I could probably do a whole stream on just analyzing Carol's situation and Carol's dream state. But she can't be allowed to have a perfect life. She was married, wasn't perfect. Had a daughter, wasn't perfect. Had Henry, wasn't perfect. All of these things are problems. We got Fluff the flamethrower. She can't see the hands because she sleeps with her hands above the covers like a good... Come on, Fluff. This is not Freestyle Friday. I'm going to... Jury, please strike that last super chat from the record. Flamethrower. It's a wacky Wednesday instead. I mean, you would think that David Timex would be the resident authority on clocks and time. Did I miss? Hold on. I did. Sorry, Ben. I missed Ben's super chat earlier as well, too. Clocks represent the structure of the old world. Okay, I got you, Ben. I just had to look that up. Elaborate on that a little bit more for me. If clocks represent the structure of the old world, she still has a clock, but now she's looking at this time with no hands. How does that play into it? Going to have to help me tonight. I'm a little lost with this one. J Law in the house. What's up, J Law? Thank you for that. Appreciate it. So Ben, give me just kind of shoot me a message or let me know. I want to kind of dig into that topic a little bit. Red Fair says, always had to be somewhere. Time sets the pace. So certainly there's a lot of these different elements, and maybe it means some of these things. Maybe just a crazy, funky, outlandish dream that she keeps having because she's hallucinating. But I do think that there's some there's subconscious tied into her dream. She sees Henry when she's awake, and she sees Henry when she's sleeping. She's afraid to go to sleep because when she does doze off, she's continued to have these dreams. So one would think this isn't a brand new thing with her. So Ben says, just throwing out ideas, clocks are symbolic to the hustle and bustle and sophistication of life before the fall. Now we're living in a shattered, broken visage of what that was. I mean, I certainly think that's an element, but I would also say somebody struck something a little bit earlier and said she feels like she's out of time. And transitioning, I mean, how many people here would like to wake up in the morning and have breakfast with Daryl? Daryl cooking you some bacon and eggs. Anybody? Would anybody volunteer for that? There's a few people, right? There's a few people wouldn't mind that scenario. And then only to find out that you're out of jam and you got to leave and go to the store? There you go. There's your whole morning. Jerry's time has no meaning anymore? Well, we're going to transition that to a little bit of Negan as well. So, just really quickly, the official dream interpretation of clocks. So what does it mean when you see a clock in your dream? It signifies the importance of time in some walking situation. You may be feeling some anxiety of not being on top of things. Also, clocks can symbolize the ticking of the human heart and thus is indicative of the emotional side of your life. It's pretty bold. Now, a clock with no hands in a dream. I mean, dreaming of hands in general is about self-awareness. But one last thing with that, to dream about constantly checking a clock could reflect your anxiety about not being prepared for something. So I think that really hits it pretty strong there. Carol she's got the stopwatch, she keeps looking. Maybe she realizes she's outmatched. She was not able to protect Henry, and she wants to take out her vengeance, and she can't. Even when she got the chance to do it, she couldn't. So all of these things really add up to Carol's afraid, Carol's helpless, she's overcompensating, and I got to ask you guys this question. Does killing Alpha fix the problem? It's a deep question here. I want you to think about this before you answer. So, I'm going to say that's a tough situation to be in, isn't it? You lose Henry, you kill Alpha, you don't get Henry back. This is not, it's not a hostage situation where you rescue him. Does it bring a certain level of closure to it? Maybe, but it doesn't wipe away that image of you seeing his head on a pike. That's something that can never be taken away. It doesn't matter how many times, whatever happens to Alpha, it's never going to make that pain go away. Carol, there's a part of Carol that is permanently broken. And that is a great point, Taya. What an excellent point. That's why Maggie left Negan. You know what, Taya, I just got cold chills when you said that. What a great parallel to draw between Negan taking Glenn away from Maggie and Maggie looking him in the eyes and leaving and having to leave him alive, knowing that Glenn's not coming back. And Carol looking at Alpha, knowing that Henry's not coming back. And the common denominator in there is Negan. Thank you so much for that segue. I absolutely love it. Negan has broken Maggie. And several people have said, I've seen it in polls, I've seen it in surveys, and I'm going to ask you guys here tonight. Is Maggie welcome back? How many people are Maggie fans? How many people are indifferent? And Taya just added a different element to the Maggie return story for me. Because now, could Maggie be a bridge to help fix Carol with her loss? Think about that for a minute. Maggie's went through it. Maggie got away. Could Maggie be a little bit of that healing for Carol? She's experienced it. So I have to ask you, has any character on the show, Michael Wallace says we don't need Maggie. Fair enough, but let's get into the Maggie situation. Let's sympathize with Maggie for a moment here. Is there any character on the show that suffered a more brutal loss than Maggie? Let me know. Let me know if you can think of a single person on the show. Maybe Rick losing Carl, but I would argue I disagree. I disagree, Marvelous One. I'll tell you why. You could probably say Rick lost Carl, but Carl got bit. That wasn't brutal. That was life. That is life in the zombie apocalypse. People get bit. You get bitten. One could argue there's a major difference between getting bitten by a walker and watching your husband get bashed while somebody dances over the top of him. So I don't think anyone has had to deal with what Maggie, just that situation. Tyler Bradley. You know it. Maggie is the best. I will tell you, thank you for that super chat, Lure the Purr. Tyler in the house. I'm giving you a little Maggie love today because I know Maggie is not front and center, foremost. So, Joey the Gator, I would argue Michonne losing Rick, but let me also say, in theory, Rick sacrificed himself for the group if Rick were dead. Let me ask the group this question. Would you guys agree someone dying for a cause or someone being brutally murdered, there's a stronger acceptance of someone dying for a cause, and it's not quite as tragic as someone being murdered? Because there's a certain amount of honor that goes with that. There's a certain amount of reassurance that person was selfless and under control and did it for the right reasons. Not that they were beaten down in front of their pregnant wife. So I would say that the elements we have working here is there's no doubt in my mind, Carol is broken and breaking more and more and more. Carol is not a match for Alpha. Carol on her best day might be a match for Alpha. Might not. I'm not convinced that Alpha is not the most brutal we've ever seen. I'm going to give you a couple things to talk about Alpha. Ben Stevenson says Maggie lost her father and her husband to brutality. So let me ask you guys this question. What was a worse death? The governor and Herschel or Negan and Glenn? What do you think was worse between the two? And her sister. So I would say, in my opinion, it's Negan and Glenn. But I would say of all the deaths on The Walking Dead, could we argue that Herschel might have been the second worst? And if not the second, maybe Herschel was the third worst? But either way, I got to say, Herschel's top 3. And Glenn is probably number 1. So we're upset partially because Lauren left the show for more money and left a plot hole. I mean, let's be honest here. But let's take the Lauren Cohan story out of it and say, where is Maggie at? What did Maggie have to deal with? Maggie confronted Negan face to face, her husband's killer, and let him live because she knew it wasn't going to bring Glenn back. But she still couldn't be around it. And Deborah, I didn't forget about Abe. But I have to tell you, I don't put Abe in the top 5. And here's the reason why I don't put Abe on the same death scale as I do Glenn. Because number 1, Rick's people killed a whole lot of our people. I'm not a Negan, but you get it. Abe was the biggest and the strongest. Abe volunteered to die, in so many words. Abe sacrificed. As a fan of Abraham, by far my favorite character in the history of The Walking Dead, I saw his death as necessary and bold and heroic, and giving Sasha that peace sign was like, yeah. You know, he don't care. He's talking crap to Negan up until the time while he's getting beat down. But the Glenn death was a whole different ballgame. Whole different. Complete shock. How it happened, why it happened, the reaction after it happened, All of those things. And for Maggie to go through this quest and get back to a point where she could take Negan down and to walk away, I think there's some extreme parallel. Now, the flashbacks of Henry, and I don't want to touch on a nerve here, because Henry was Carol's stepson. And I'm not saying, I don't know. I don't know what the level of love, I don't know the level of bonding. I have to feel like it was strong. And I know there's many people who have stepchildren and were stepchildren, and your parents love you and you love them just as much as you love your own kids. I would say this, though. If you had a stepchild for 10 years, or you had a stepchild for a week, it might not be the same level of love. That's all I'm saying. It could be, but I'm saying that time and experience and all of those things build a stronger connection. But based on the amount of time, and you're right, that he called her mom and she's seeing the visions, I feel like that was a strong, strong bond. That bond had already happened. And she feels for Henry as if that was her son. And the fact that Henry was screaming her name when he died. I gotta touch on that a little bit, because every time I say that or think about it, it really affects me. So Lure the Purr. Do we got to talk about 7-1 2 nights in a row? You know what? There's some darkness with that. As a parallel, sometimes. Henry, we saw Henry lose his brother. We saw, even beyond Henry losing his brother, Henry chasing Carol down. I want to kind of take you through a little bit of the Henry story, because I don't think it's completely fair. How many people here, before Henry got piked, were actually saying, Henry's annoying, I hope he gets piked. He let Gregory out, so on and so forth. I need to take you back to your mental state just a little bit. Anybody here that was like, Henry needs to get the pike. He needs to die. He's annoying. A few, right? So I want to turn that around just a little bit. Henry lost his brother. Henry did something stupid as a kid. Henry was trying to grow up in a zombie apocalypse, and he had Ezekiel and Carol as his role models, and Daryl as well. Does it not, at least those of you that wanted Henry on the pike, when Alpha says, that blonde boy screamed your name when we took his head, does that not break your heart to think that Henry had this facade that he was trying to impress people by being more than he was, and he became a child that was screaming for his mom right before he died? That all he wanted was a moment with his mom? I mean, think about that for a moment. When I heard her say that, I immediately forgot everything about Henry that I didn't like and thought, Wow. That almost brings tears to your eyes to think of all the toughness and all the things that he was trying to do. And in that moment, all he wanted was just to be with his mom. That he was a child that grew up too fast. So let us not forget the emotional ties. So when you hear that, put yourself on the other end of that and think about what Carol had to go through. Absolutely heartbreaking. So that to me elevated the story. It elevated Carol's connection. It got me to back off Henry a little bit. And it thrust Alpha into a more evil role. So I want that to sink in just for a couple minutes here. Lure the Purr said Henry was a good fighter. Carl was not. Tyler, I think with Henry, we didn't get to see the growth of Henry the same way we got to see the growth of Carl. And I think it's always going to be a little bit taboo to criticize Carl. I mean, just kind of like it is for me to criticize Rick Grimes. Anytime I even think something negative about Rick, it's like I get mobbed immediately. I get people that'll log on, like Johnny Meadows, like, you smoking crack? And it's okay to disagree. Just disagree in a more chill out type of disagreement. Carl, I don't know. Johnny, I'm probably somewhere in the middle of that. Like, Carl had some epic moments. And I think, Tyler, what I would disagree with that, Carl was starting to wear on me a little, not wear on me. I was starting to accept Carl a little bit more. He went through the same awkward teenage type of stuff, but don't forget, he also jumped out of the back of a truck and tried to kill Negan when nobody else was trying to kill Negan. So I don't think the Carl Henry is a good comparison. But I do think Judith is going to be more badass than both of them combined. Ben Stevenson, remember, Maggie wanted Negan dead on the battlefield and Rick said, save him. She only chose to let him live when she realized he was worse off alive in a cell for the rest of his life. Now he's out. Oh, you know what? That is a pretty powerful statement. So, certainly Maggie coming back and Negan not being in jail is going to be a problem. Until it's not a problem. Because here's what we have to do, Ben. There are, you know what, I guess we could say there's 4 stages of Negan. And one of those stages would be Ben Stevenson's point here. So of the 4 stages of Negan, there is everybody, characters and fans, have heard about Glenn, or we saw the Glenn death, and that stage is going to be a group of people that are never Negan. How many people here are never Negan? Doesn't matter what happens, doesn't matter what he does, you have convinced yourself that he could save 1 million kittens, and it doesn't matter. It just does not matter. Okay, well, we see who's Negan. So I'm going to ask a follow-up question. How many characters, take yourself out of the equation. I need your best Walking Dead CSI right now. Which characters are never Negan? Not you. Which characters on the show do you think will never forgive him no matter what happens? This is a little tougher question. See, Johnny says Carol, Rick, and Daryl. Those are three great choices, but I'm going to tell you why I disagree with almost every one of them. Because I think there's a story that could be had that could change that dynamic. Simon, touche. There you go. David Buzz says Simon is never Negan. Some people are saying Daryl. Maybe Daryl. Hold that thought. Maggie. Will Maggie ever accept Negan? That's an interesting point. Okay. So that's stage 4. That's the people that are never going to accept Negan no matter what. Okay? Now let's talk about stage 3. Stage 3 are the people that have already accepted Negan no matter what. They liked him in the comics. Didn't matter who he beat down. He could have killed pregnant Maggie, Carl. Could have killed all of them. Count to 10 and then kill Glenn. He could have killed all 11. Didn't matter. They were Negan fans regardless. Then you got stage 2. Stage 2 is most of you. Most everybody in here. They are the Negan redeemers. They didn't really like him, didn't think they would like him, but he killed Simon, chokeslammed him, he got put in jail, he built up a bond with Judith, he escaped and came back, he saved Judith and her puppy. I mean, he saved a puppy. Saved a puppy, everybody, come on. So that's stage 3. But there's one more stage. And that is, I'm not writing these down, so they're kind of thoughts. So if you thought all this was, scripted, we're going to have to watch this video again to get exactly what I'm naming each one. But stage number 1 is the Negan transition. It is the fact that some characters on the show still need to accept him. The audience already has. There's certain people that never will. But the last stage is, what does he need to do to coexist with Carol? What does he need to do to coexist with Maggie? And what does he need to do to coexist with Daryl? I think all 3 of those were good points. And there's only one threat right now that is bigger than everything else. Absolutely. Johnny Metal. It's Kill Alpha. So even though we're okay with Negan, not everybody on the show is. And they're intentionally keeping that way. I got another super chat up here. This is Ben Stevenson. I'm going to get to you, Ben. Maggie needs an Aaron Negan moment. Exactly 100%. I'm telling you, I like this guy, Benjamin Stevenson. Because when I put the breadcrumbs down, he is right on those breadcrumbs. If you guys notice, the last couple nights, what we've talked about is the context and the relationship between Negan and Aaron. There's only one other person on the show that has that same relationship as Negan and Aaron. Who's the only other person that Negan has that relationship with? Just one, everybody. There it is. I need to see everybody say it. It's Judith. Only other person Negan has that relationship with is Judith. Judith trusts him. She believes in him. But the problem is, she's a kid. She's a kid that doesn't know anything, right? That's basically what Michonne told her in so many words. Stay away from him. I don't want you spending any more time around him. Gabe's at a different point. Michonne is at a different point. Judith's relationship with him, no holds barred. So what we've seen with Aaron is the writers had the ability to double Negan's net worth. If he was worth $1 million with Judith, now he's worth $2 million with Judith and Aaron. And to Ben Stevens' point, Maggie needs that moment. So prior to Aaron and Negan having that moment, what did Aaron, give me some of the things that Aaron threw out there to Negan. Let's go back and talk about that scene. Negan had a broomstick. What did you notice most when they were out there fighting walkers? When that scene first started, give me some call-outs. What did you notice first between Negan and Aaron? That's a good point, Tyler. Ezekiel and Jerry are going to be tough to persuade. They lost the most people in that war. They got mowed down. I do want to touch on that too. But that wasn't Negan. That was the war, and they were charging. It's a little bit different. There was death on both sides of that, but they got ambushed. So I agree with you, but I kind of disagree. It wasn't kind of as one-on-one. But it is a good point. So hold tight on that. J-Law says his wife. Julia Mew said leave. Johnny Metal says the crowbar. Aaron's hostility. The tension. Told him to go away. All of these things are true. So as they went out there to fight together, Negan is tight with Judith. They're good. But then they go out to fight, and Aaron says, that's on your side. Go kill them. Bossing him around. Will not let him use a weapon that gives him an advantage. Aaron's not worried about Negan attacking him. Aaron, and look, this is what's funny to me. So many people made a big deal about Negan waiting till the last moment to save Aaron, or sitting there and just like, okay, I'll help him. He waited to the last possible second, like on 3 occasions, to bail him out. Where's the same level of outrage for Aaron giving him a broomstick to fight when he could have let him fight with a crowbar? I mean, where's the outrage? Aaron's doing the exact same thing to Negan that Negan was doing to him. And Aaron started it. Aaron started antagonizing him. Negan's out there to say, I'm not the same person. I'm here to help you out. Let me use this. Nope, not going to use it. And then after he kills the walkers, I'm taking you back. Tying you up. Then he took it another step. Then after that, he told him to leave. We'd be better off without you. You don't care about us. You just care about yourself. All of these things were hurdles that Negan had to get over. He had to break Aaron to make Aaron realize Negan's been out there picking strawberries. He's been burying dead bodies. He's been in jail. Aaron did not believe that Negan had conformed. Many of you believe that. Aaron didn't believe it. And that's why I said there were 4 stages of it. What the character feels. So there's a method to this conversation. There's a method to this madness. So would you say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how cold was Aaron to Negan when they went out and started fighting together? From a scale of 1 to 10, based on all those examples I just gave you. Told him to leave, talked about his wife, wouldn't give him a weapon, probably was hoping he would die. I hope that broomstick breaks and you die is probably what he's thinking. I would say a 10. So, what would you say is the Aaron-Negan dynamic at the end of the episode? From a scale of 1 to 10, how cold is Aaron to Negan at the end of the episode? Some people are saying trust. So, they're talking. Did you hear Aaron say, thanks for helping me out, now tie your ass up, I'm taking you back? Negan says to him, can you see me? Yeah. When Negan starts to leave, Aaron called out to him the same way, not the same way, but in a similar fashion that Henry called out for Carol. Negan, basically saying, don't leave me here to die, protect me. Is this permanent? It can be. Negan gives him the cure. He asked him, he said, did you wash your eyes out? Here, drink this. He gave him water. Aaron is panicking. In that moment, is it safe to say, everybody, Ellis Smith, you can disagree all you want, in capital letters, Ellis Smith, if Negan is not there in that room, does Aaron survive that scene? Yes or no? Yes or no? Everybody else answer this question. If Negan left Aaron in that room, does Aaron survive? So is it safe to say that Aaron owes his life to Negan right now? Yes or no? Is Aaron only alive because Negan saved him? Negan could have hit the road. Aaron is a dead man walking. He got in Negan's face. He got attacked by walkers. He went blind. He's in a building. He's got walkers on top of him getting ready to kill him. And Negan saved him. You can say whatever ulterior motive that there is. I know the never Negans are going to say, oh, he had to save him because he couldn't go back in Alexandria. How's he going to explain that? You know what? Let me tell you something. Negan's in jail. Negan has no freedom. He could have already had freedom. He's going to go back and get locked up again. His only satisfaction is that he has a relationship with Judith, that he has somebody to talk to. He made a conscious decision to save Aaron's life. And Aaron owes his life to Negan, and he gets it. He understands it. His voice changed. His tone changed. He didn't want him to leave him. Now he's going to start to understand he reformed. He was locked up and something changed in him. So now you got two people that get it. So what I'm saying is, in 15 minutes of screen time, just 15 minutes. I'm not talking about 2 episodes, 3 episodes, 5 episodes. In 2 minutes of screen time, Aaron went from hating him, telling him to leave, to owing his life to him. So if that dynamic can take place in 15 minutes, Carol, Maggie, Daryl, if they get those moments, if they see that reform, they can transition their thought process as well. I did it. Many of you did it. Judith did it. Aaron did it. If Negan kills Alpha and Carol can't, that's why I think it's so important. Negan and Carol have no bond, no friendship, no relationship. Carol's avoided him. But is it safe to say, based on what we've seen from Carol, we've seen her breaking down. She can't keep it together. Will Negan be given the opportunity by Michonne and by Daryl or by the council? Will Negan be given the opportunity to kill Alpha? And the correct answer is no, he won't. He won't be given the opportunity. Do you know why he's not going to be given the opportunity? Because they don't trust him. And because he's not going to be given the opportunity, he's going to take the opportunity. He's going to do one better for all of us. He's not going to ask permission to do it. He's going to find a way to do it. So those people that are still holding on, that don't trust his rationale, that don't trust his meaning, he's not going to storm in Michonne's office and say, hey, boss, let me go fight Alpha, take one for the team. He's going to go covert operation. He's going to leave. Aaron's already planted that seed. The only way for him to get true redemption is to do an unselfish act without being asked to do it and accomplish a desired result for people other than himself. And when he does all of those things, it doesn't bring Glenn back. It doesn't bring Abraham back. But just like killing Alpha is not going to bring Henry back, but it's going to show the change of character that he did it for other people. That selfish people can do selfless acts. And Negan is always going to be a selfish person. How many of you in this stream can be selfish at times? How many people can be a little self-centered? How many people can do things for yourself, and then at the same time, you can also do things for other people? That's the complexity of Negan, just like many of us. It sets the story up perfectly, because in that... I appreciate your honesty, Johnny. It sets up the story so well for Negan to find a way to get into the whispers, for Negan to take that mask, for Negan to blend in, for us to think that, where does he stand with everything? But I do have to say, I don't think that's going to be easy to pull off on the television show, as easy as it was in the comics. Because, at least for me, the hatred for characters grows deeper when you see and hear them talk than it does when you read it. The love of characters is stronger when you see and hear them talk than it is when you read it. I just always feel like reading the comics and watching the TV show, I saw the challenges with the redemption of Negan and how dark they made him out to be and how hard it is to bring him back. They can do it from a character standpoint and from a dialogue standpoint, but I don't think they can tread too deeply into that. Let's make Negan hated again, because I don't know the audience wants to go through that flip-flop again. And I don't think it'll resonate well seeing it. I think we'll be able to see through it like, Negan's just saying some things to piss people off, but we know he's got a good heart now. Absolutely, Taya. There were a lot of things that did not come through as well on a TV show, but I will also say there's a lot of things that, if we're right about this, are coming through pretty powerfully on the TV show this season. This season, I have not read this far into the comics, so I can't say that I'm the expert on it, but what I will say is I don't think, if I read this part in the comics, that I would be as into the psychology of what's going on as I am seeing the way Carol acts and the way Alpha acts. I'm just guessing here, but I'm comparing it to previous comic issues that I've read, and it was good, but it wasn't as deep. That's all I'm saying. And I know some comic fans are going to disagree with that, because there's people that read have extremely vivid imaginations, and I do too, but it's just a little bit different, because when the actor does it, I'm forced to accept that actor for what they're showing me. When I read it, it's a little bit open to my own interpretation. So the arc was certainly good. So we got a lot of different moving elements, which kind of, I love the super chats earlier, and it's funny because if you guys, the people watching the playback, and if you are watching the playback, give this video a thumbs up. And in fact, if you're in the stream right now, give this video a thumbs up if you like what we do, because we're doing double shots all week long. We're really digging down into the psychology. And as I said, if you go back and even if you're here and you listen to playback, those super chats were like almost perfectly timed and in theme. I could not have drawn triangulation and parallels better to what we were going to talk about tonight than with some of Tyler's super chats, some of Ben's super chats, and people chiming in about what happens when Maggie comes back. I agree. Negan has that bond with both, because what Maggie went through, Carol's going to go through. So I think it was extremely well timed. Thank you guys for that. Absolutely love it. Spinach is kicked. I think we do it a little bit different. If you guys agree that the way we drive down into the psychology of The Walking Dead is a little bit more unique than any other channel, and if you like being a part of the 999 Army, being here, what we do, and how we mix it up, then give us a shout out in chat right now. It is 1 hour. We're going to wind the stream down because we are going to be back at 9:30, everybody. We got a totally different topic we're going to talk about. So take a break, grab some food, put your kids to bed, all of those things, and come back and see us at 9:30. We'll be back in 1 hour. Thanks for everything that you guys do. Shout out to the Patreon Army. Thank you so much. If you guys want to be a patron, there's a link down below. Shout out to my green team. Everybody in green there. If you take your cursor and put it over the little badges beside them, you will see how long each and every person here has been a member of this channel. Custom emojis, a whole lot of cool stuff, so thank you. And also the PDL sponsors, Super Chatters, thank you guys so much for adding value to the stream and keeping it spicy and all those cool things. I love the topics. We get in a good conversation, and you guys throw an idea up there. It's perfect. Moderators, Emmy, Steph, Tommy, Kells, and of course each and every one of you, the 999 Army. I will see you all in 1 hour. Have a good one, everybody. Peace.